Now Women Ignite podcast is a monthly show that is brought to you from Ogden, Utah. The mission of the show is to bring together women from all walks of life. No judging, no comparing, only finding the unique, authentic diamonds in each individual. Today, we have a wonderful guest. Sara, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you so much, Karen, for having me.
Yes. Our show title today is called Tracing Your Journey. And as we begin, I think sometimes in life we have passions, and sometimes those passions lead into community outreach programs or community needs. And today we are going to find that out from you today, correct?
Yes.
Good. I'm so excited. Listeners, as we begin, I always invite us just to take a time, and I just want to ground us. I just want to unfold our legs and cross our arms, closing our eyes, getting seated in our seat nice and comfy, and just for a moment, take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Another breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now bring your hands up around your shoulders like you're giving yourself a big hug. And listeners, repeat this affirmation. I am worthy of my love 3 times. I am worthy of my love. I am worthy of my love. I am worthy of my love. Take another deep breath in and breathe out. And now tapping with your finger on your chest, repeat the word accept. Accept, accept, accept. Another deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Listeners, as we start this podcast today, I hope you took the moment just to be with us, to be in the present, to be in the now, to be with us as we share the stories, as we share experiences and growth with Sara today. And always remember that this is your choice to be here, to listen, to grow and expand. And with gratitude in my heart, leaning in with my heart, thank you for being here and supporting this program, supporting what women are and the power that we are. As we move forward, Sara, I always do an affirmation, and my listeners know this. It's like, get out your sticky notes, do whatever, because this is my time. Affirmations has been a part of my life for a while in learning to grow and reprogram my train of thoughts, my as I'm listening to myself and what I'm thinking and how I'm speaking to myself. And so affirmations became very powerful to me. So today's affirmation, you guys, I have my new deck of cards, the Now cards that I love. It says, be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change you want to see in the world. That is the affirmation today. And Sara, I would love you to share that. What thoughts came to you? Be the change you want to see in the world.
Man, am I going to start out all teary? I'm like, woo, that was a good one. That's one of my favorite quotes. I love that one because that's how I've lived my life. I wanted to just start out right away. Wow.
Okay.
The next like that. I feel like that's been my mantra. Things that have frustrated me or been negative things that have happened in my life, I've made it a point to be the change that I wanted in the world. So,
and I love it. And it goes really hand in hand with our title, Tracing Your Journey. Yeah. You know, we all have a journey and we all have paths, but being able to change today and continue to move on through our journey and evolving and growing constantly, I think it's a part of life and how we learn and grow. Listeners, listeners, write that down. Be the change you want to see in the world. Yeah. You know, you think of all the powerhouses in the past, and I always go to the energy like Mother Teresa and Christ and Buddha, and those simple, they're quiet human beings, but they made a change first within themselves and then moved forward silently, quietly, and led by example. I have this up on my wall, all my affirmations in front of me. And the one that says I have this one's by Mother Teresa. It says, do small things with great love. Do small things with great love. And in your work area of work right now, I believe that is something that you have leaned in with very much with your livelihood. Let's take a moment, Sara. I want you to introduce yourself to my listeners. I have your bio in front of me and I could read it, but it does not do justice. And listeners, we always lean in with our heart, our egos behind, because this is about connecting with each other through Zoom, through the airwaves, and this is our time together. So tell us a little bit about Sara.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so my name is Sara Mejeur, and I am currently the development director here at YCC Family Crisis Center. I've been here a little over 2 years, and I absolutely love it here. Before that, I was at the Goal Foundation, which was my first job here in Ogden, which really helped me fall in love with Ogden and all the people in this community. So I'll forever be grateful for my time at Goal. And I am a mama of 3 kiddos that are amazing, 14, 12, and 8. So fun.
You're busy.
It's a fun time of life. Like, it's chaotic a little bit.
Yes.
But I love it. Like, this is a really fun chapter. And I'm married to the best man on the planet. I might be a little biased. And
sorry, women, they're taken. We only had one man.
I knew there was one. I got him. Sorry. Yeah, and so we've been in Ogden almost 6 years, about 5.5, almost 6 years, and I feel like we've always been here. Like, we feel like we're Ogdenites. Where, you know, when you're in the right place, like where you're supposed to be, and we're definitely supposed to be here. So I guess that's a little bit about me here. And
where did you move from?
So we moved here from Michigan.
Okay.
We grew up in Michigan. Then we lived in Nebraska and Iowa. We moved back to Michigan. We were on the east side of the state. We grew up on the west side, but when we moved back, we were on the east side, and that was not our jam. Like, we knew we were in the wrong place. Like, we were in the wrong place. It was busy. It was hectic. There wasn't a community. There wasn't like a central hub, like how Ogden has like our downtown, and we gather and we build community and we support each other. There wasn't that. So we made a list of what we wanted our lives to look like, because we knew that wasn't it. We didn't know where, it was, but we made a list of all the things, and this opportunity literally came up the next day. And I was like, Utah, I'm like, what even is Utah? Like, I knew nothing. I knew this much because I wasn't a skier. Like, I knew nothing about Utah except for, I'm like, I think the Olympics were there once. And so
yes.
That's it. That's literally all I knew. So obviously we did a Google recon on what is Utah, and came out for a little tour, and we're like, the people are so nice. The mountains are beautiful. I think this might work. We were still little. We just still didn't know, what it would be like. We quickly learned, like, it was less than 6 months that we were like, we're sold out on Ogden. So
I love that. Ogden is a unique melting pot. I believe it's a melting pot coming from all aspects of life, walks of life, and it's even getting more so as the secret gets out, right? I moved here in 2000, and Ogden was just this quiet little place and kind of run down and things, and slowly and just steadily it continues to increase in value and growth, and people moving in and finding the secret mountains and our gems.
I know, and I'm like, I don't want to get, like, I feel bad because I'm like, oh, stop telling people, but I'm like, oh, like, we're transplants too, so I can't be too greedy with it.
I know. All good things must come to an end, right? No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing, listeners. You know that.
All those Midwesterners coming in.
I know. I read something on Facebook the other day, and I ski up at Snow Basin, and someone had posted like 20 different license plates from all over. And they're like, who are these people? And I just started laughing. It's so true. It's so true. But it's a beautiful area that we live. And I love the fact that you manifested when you're in Michigan. You weren't happy. It's like, okay, we need something else. Open the doors. What do we have? And that's the power of the universe. And I'm all about the energy world with manifesting and saying, Okay, help us.
Help us. Like we're
Yeah.
open to this new adventure. What is it? And never in a million years would I have thought it was Utah because I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, that's really far. We can't drive home. Like, no, we can't do
No,
that, you know, and
no, there is no, you are stuck here, Sarah.
no,
That's
you
not-
are. It's like for like 2 horrific days in the car or 3 really miserable days to drive back. So
Yeah, that's a
please
drive.
hop in a flight.
I
Yeah.
don't blame you. So tell the listeners a little bit about your schooling and what got you into your love of where you're at in your life right now.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. So when I was little, you know, everybody asks you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And I wanted to be a teacher. Like I played school all summer. I took home workbooks from my teachers. Like I was the teacher's pet, the helper, the first one to raise my hand. Like my stuffed animals and dolls and siblings, like we played school all summer because I wanted to be a teacher. And so when I graduated from high school, I moved out, went to school 4 years, going to be a teacher, got to student teaching. I don't know if I want to be a teacher. Oh, after 4 years of going to school, and life was a little hectic for me personally at the time. And in Michigan too, right then, they were laying off teachers. So there's a lot of teachers here in Utah, Arizona, a lot of other states. Like we had like this mass exodus of teachers because there was a hiring freeze and they were laying off new teachers. And so I saw my friends losing their jobs that had graduated before me. And I was like, oh, do I really want to do this? Maybe I just need to take a break. Like I had been go, go, go my whole life until that point. And I just kind of had like a kind of like a rock bottom moment where I'm like, I just need to kind of like essentially kind of let it all fall apart. Like I'd been in so control and so focused for so long that it's kind of a little breakdown. And so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go work. Instead of, I usually worked like 3 jobs, coached, cheered on a team, went to school. Like I had a lot on my plate. And I was like, what if I took school off the plate? What if I just kind of figure out what I want to do, if it's really teaching or if it's something else? So I allowed myself that time to feel like a failure, I guess, like I didn't finish school on my timeline. And so then I just started working and started doing other things and kept coaching. I loved coaching. I coached.
What kind of coach was it?
I coached competitive cheer.
Okay.
And I coached that for now in my lifetime, like 12 years. But at that time, it was really my passion. Like I loved the kids I was coaching. I loved the life coaching more so even than the actual coaching and the goal setting and watching them grow and achieve their goals and believe in themselves. And so I really loved that. So I was happy just doing that for a while. Got married, had some kiddos. We moved a bunch for my husband's career because his company, essentially, if you want to move up, you got to move every couple of years. And so we did. And so then I started back to school again, once we kind of got settled in Iowa. And I was working for Pella Windows and Doors, which never in a million years did I think I would go into manufacturing, but we lived in this small town and there was like 2 places to work. And my husband's like, you should go work at Pella. I'm like, am I going to build windows? Like, I don't know how to build, like, what am I going to do there? And what's amazing is that he was going through his executive MBA right then. And he was like, hey, we just did this cool quiz online called Strengths Finders, and we learned our top 5 strengths. And I really think you should do it. He's like, because I was feeling just so antsy, like I wasn't happy, just, you know, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. Like I had our kiddos and we were in this house and we're in this new town. And I was just really trying to find my purpose because I didn't have coaching anymore. Like when we had moved, I wasn't coaching anymore. I was feeling really lost. So luckily he suggested that and I did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never knew, like I knew the strengths that it revealed. Like I knew that those were parts of me, but I didn't see them as strengths and didn't see them as things I could leverage for a job. Like I just knew that those were parts of me, but I don't know, I just never saw them through that lens. And
so will you share with the listeners what your strengths were? Because I think it's really important, listeners, to understand that, you know, we all have our times in life, no matter the season, like what you just described, Sarah, like, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with my life?
Yeah.
I mean, my kids are grown right now and I'm in the season of life, like, okay, what do I do now? Because I've been a mom, I've been the role model, I've been doing all the scheduling, and now all of a sudden I'm like, I got all this time on my hands.
Yeah,
I
no,
do. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
And it's all seasons in life. So I would love it if you would, if you don't mind just deep diving just for a moment about that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So I love Strengths Finders because it totally changed my perspective on myself. Because like you said, like it was a new season of life. I had nothing else to define me, right? Like I'd always been in cheer. Like I'd cheered since I was 10. I'd always coached. And then I worked for a cheer camp company. And so removing that and removing my jobs and removing school, I was like, okay, what am I, without those things? And so it was like a hard time, but I'm grateful for it now. Like looking back, like I was pretty miserable there for a little bit. So when I took this quiz, and I've taken it a few other times, and so other ones have popped up here and there, but essentially like positivity is usually one of my number ones, which is funny. I could go into that a little bit more, but
It's funny because at the time you took it, you weren't being very positive?
Well,
or
I
what?
always have been, because lots of things in my childhood, I will just say they're a very colorful childhood. And there was a lot of negative things and a lot of things out of my control. And I remember like in junior high, I was in a really dark place. Junior high is hard no matter what, even if you have like a stable family and even if everything is going great, it's still hard because it's junior high and your hormones are a mess and your friends are a mess and everything's on this roller coaster. And I was in a really, really dark place and didn't think I wanted to be a part of life anymore, essentially. But because of that, I remember making this very conscious choice that I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And so I made the choice. Oh my gosh, I didn't know I was going to cry so much, Karen, on your show. But here we are. I'm a feeler. It's okay.
It's okay. I am too.
It is. So I remember making this conscious choice that I didn't want to feel that way because it was miserable and I didn't want to be miserable. And so I swear, I'm like, I was 12, 13, I was 13 years old, 7th grade. I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm changing this. My new favorite color is yellow. I love smiley faces. I'm going to choose to be happy. I'm going to choose to see things through rose-colored lenses. Like I'm going to choose to see the good in everything instead of just getting so buried and bogged down by all the horrible things happening around me or to me or near me. And then it's funny. I'm like, what? I don't know where that came from, but it did. And so from then on, I just always have chosen to see, like if something horrible happens, I'm like, oh, this sucks, but okay, now what are we going to do? Okay.
Right.
And just seeing a way forward. And so positivity is always in my top 5 of my strengths finders, no matter what. Sometimes it's number 1, sometimes it kind of drops down, but it's always there. And I never saw that as a strength for like a job or for a career. But it's so crucial because bad things are going to happen. You're going to miss your goal. You're going to get fired, or, you're going to get a new boss or a new team member, and it might not be an ideal situation. But if you can look at it and say, okay, what am I going to learn from this? How am I going to adapt? Right. So that positivity is a pretty cool strength that I've learned to love.
Yeah, that's cool. What were a couple of your other ones?
So a few other ones are all around like relationship building. I love people. And so I love to build things. So like that's the coach in me. Essentially my strengths finder says, you're a cheer coach. Like you like to set goals. I like to individualize the plan for like my team members. So individualization is one of my strengths. So I see when I meet people, I quickly learn their individual strengths and I'm like, ooh, you should apply for this job, or ooh, you'd be really great here. I need to connect you to this person because you'd be really great over there. So connectedness is in there too. Restorative. So I love to, like, if something's struggling or kind of a mess, I love to like clean it up and help it grow, which also speaks to the coaching part of me. Right. Empathy is always in my top 10. I have this ability to really see both sides of probably almost everything, almost to a fault sometimes, where I can really like truly step into their shoes and be like, oh my gosh, if I was there, what would I have done? How do they feel? How can I help them? Right. So essentially relationship building is the big one. It's usually always there. And then like executor, like how are we going to get things done? How are we going to build? How are we going to grow? What needs to be done? And let's do it. So
then you went from doing this, moving from Michigan, settling into Ogden, and you're like, okay, I know I'm positive. I know I'm strength builders. I know I can bring people together. So what led you in the fundraisers, how come I can't speak right now?
Nonprofit world.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. So it's funny. Yeah, when we moved here, I got to keep my job with Pella, but do it remotely. But what that meant was that it was turned into pretty much the worst job I ever had. I got yelled at all day. I was in customer service for people that I couldn't help. Like if their windows were delayed, I couldn't change that. If the installer couldn't come for 3 months, I couldn't change that. And so it was just this horrible lose-lose. Like I couldn't help. I could be positive, but like I couldn't help fix anything.
Solution.
Like no solutions. I had none.
That's frustrating.
It was the worst. I'm like,
that is frustrating.
I don't know what strength that takes to do, but it's not in mine. So got into, I'd always wanted to get into the nonprofit world, but it wasn't a very strong culture where I lived. Like I just didn't really know about the nonprofit land, when we were there. But coming to Ogden, oh my gosh, there's like 100, like there's so many for every kind of thing. And so because we chose to show up to a pub runners event, like we were new in town, we were tired, we had registered for this event, but we were like, no, we need to make friends. We're both working from home. We know we need community. We know we need these things because we've lived other places and didn't have it. We got to show up even though we're tired and we're going to be awkward. And so luckily that's when I met the Goal Gals. I call them. I met Clarice and Abby there. And I was like, what's cool? What do you do? And I was like, that's so cool. I'm like, if you ever have an opening, I'll figure it out. Whatever the job is, I'll just figure it out because I just want to get into that world and get plugged into this community. And like the next week, they're like, hey, we actually have this opening. You should apply.
You're like, okay.
Just the stars started aligning, right? And so, yeah, so I started working at Goal, got plugged in, did all the marketing and communications. It was a steep learning curve because I had never done any of that full time. I'd done lots of relationship building, like expos and sales, like in that kind of realm, but like the digital marketing world, I had just enough to know. And I was pretty honest. I'm like, I'm going to learn anything. I promise you, I'll figure it out. I'm pretty scrappy. I know how to Google. I know how to ask questions. So I got into that. And then what I learned about through being in that is that I really loved the connections piece and being behind a computer doing digital marketing and graphics and all that stuff. Well, it was really fun and spoke to my creative side. I knew I just really wanted to be with the people and move back into leadership. And YCC was an organization I really respected. And so when the opportunity to work mostly one-on-one with people, step back into leadership and work for a mission that really spoke to my heart, I was like, okay, I love you, Goal Team, so much, but I got to go do this. And it's wonderful.
So for the listeners that don't know, we have just a couple minutes before we go into break. Explain what Goal is, what their foundation is, and then YCC.
Perfect. So
3 minutes.
3 minutes, go. I can know both missions by heart. So Goal, the Goal Foundation, it stands for Get Out and Live. So GOAL, Get Out and Live. And they were born out of trying to keep the spirit alive from the Olympics, which is cool because that was like the one thing I knew about Utah that the Olympics in here. And so they produce the Ogden Marathon, and they produce essentially, like, they are a volunteer army to support high-end athletic events that come to Utah. So they're used by like Visit Ogden and different branches to like recruit big events to come that help our economic impact and reduce our taxes, which is really nice. And they have summer camps, and I loved all the runners, and they're just such an integral part of the community for that volunteer support. And then YCC Family Crisis Center, we are a domestic violence shelter. So we have a crisis shelter here on our site. We have sexual assault resources, and we also have childcare, award-winning childcare, Best of Ogden 2 years in a row.
I love that.
And it's open to the public. So we provide childcare for those in shelter, but community members can use our services as well.
I think that's amazing. I was on their board for a while. Did you know that?
I did. Yeah. I think you rolled off just kind of as I started.
Just for a minute. No, I was on it probably like for 5 years. And then the last, I want to say when COVID hit and everything went to Zoom, and it just kind of like, and then everything's coming back around again. So it's amazing. And we're getting ready to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to deep dive into YCC and some of the events that are coming up here. We've got one in just a couple of days. So super excited about that. So excited about that. So as we go in, listeners, stay tuned as we come back, speaking more with Sara about her life journey, about where she's at. I mean, shoot, she's volunteering and she's on these nonprofit. And I know there's organizations that are always looking for people to step in, to help volunteer, to be a part of the resource and to help raise money and do all that good substance building that these foundations need. So when we come back, we're going to deep dive a little bit more into YCC and some fun events that are happening here. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this message.
Okay, great job. We're all clear. I'm just going to save that segment.
Hey, that sounds good. How you'd feel?
Good.
Yeah.
So good. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, we'll hold it together. Oh my gosh.
You know, it's okay. It's okay. This is like where we feel for each other. So this is a good thing. Okay, my dog's in the room. I'm going to go move him out because she got a little mouthy. I don't know if you could hear her. That's when I muted. Let me move her really quick. Just a sec.
Sounds good.
Sorry about that, people. I know better than to have her in, but she's being really cute today. We went hiking in the snow and she was being all good. And all of a sudden she's like, oh, needs my attention. I'm like, do that. Do that to me. Oh my heck, so funny.
All right, so that segment is saved. So we're good to go on to segment 2 when you're ready. Just let me know.
Okay. I am ready.
All right, here we go. Segment 2, 26 minutes, starting in 4, 3, 2.
Listeners, welcome back to Now Women Ignite. We've had the best, 25 minutes with Sara as she shared with us her life, some of the darker moments in her life and how she was able to overcome, and decisions were made with the help of the universe and with the help of doing strength tests and some wonderful, wonderful things. Remember our affirmation today: be the change you want to see in the world. And I think that is so powerful. And Sara is like the prime example for this, as she is with me. And I met Sara, I want to say it was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
At one of the YCC boards and things that we were doing. And Sara, when she walks in the room, she's just this light. She's just this amazing person. And I've watched her through different affiliations that we're with, and watch her shine and grow pretty quickly here in the community. And it is amazing the womanhood that we have. We just had the Athena luncheon in January. And as we listened to the lady who got the award, now I just went blank with her.
Sara Oliver.
Thank you. I left exhausted after she spoke because of all the accomplishments, everything she's done in her 12-hour day. And then I'm like, oh, I still have the same 12-hour days and I'm not doing that.
Hey, no comparisons, right?
I know. That was my next point right there. It's not about comparing. It's about doing the best you can at the moment that you're in.
Absolutely.
And I hope people, listeners, as you remember that we're going to have good days, and we're going to have days where we're accomplishing everything on our schedule. And then we have days where, you know what, it might be 1 or 2 things. And that's okay, because as long as you've done your best for that day. Don Miguel wrote the 4 Agreements. And I remember in the 4 Agreements, that book, that he talks about doing your best each day. Whatever that best looks like is what it is. And I take that into consideration every day, going, okay, these are the things I'm going to accomplish, and this is what I want to do. But the most important thing is each day trying to become better for who I am as an individual, and to make my change or my shifts or my awareness to my soul, so I can be an example of light and be able to go forward wherever I'm at, whether I'm at the store or in a meeting, be able to just be there for others people. And sometimes it's not saying a lot. It's just your presence and the energy and the frequency around you. And Sara, you are that way. And I love that about you.
Yeah, that's really sweet. Thank you so much.
I only speak the truth.
Thank you.
I speak what I see and I speak what I feel, and I'm a feeler in Bath, and that's what I feel. So let's talk a little bit about the YCC program. It's interesting because when I joined the YCC, I want to say it was back in 2013 when I got on the board, and I love the board members, so don't get me wrong, because they're powerful. But I remember sitting there one day in a meeting, I'm like going, I need more. I need more. So I became who brought the women in. I was an intern. No, what they call intake. I was the intake. So I was upstairs with the women and the kids coming in for like 6 months. And that is what really moved me towards the YCC and understanding that it's a battered women's shelter, right, for domestic violence, but it's not also physical. It's emotional and verbal abuse, things like that, where all of a sudden my world opened up, realizing some things that I had lived through in my life was the verbal emotional abuse and how one can put up with it for a long time and how you just get sucked into it. And it's little by little by little. And that was a huge wake-up call for me during that time. And so I grew to love YCC very quickly. And the women and the children and the members there, the people that work there and help the employees, they're amazing. And they give up their time. And so share with me maybe some experiences that might be a little touching, a little close to you. If it's all about being vulnerable and what you feel comfortable doing, but how maybe it has affected your life in a way. And then let's talk about I want to talk about the gala coming up in a couple of days, because I don't know if we still have tickets or not, but let's see.
Yeah, so for me, it's harder because I feel like I get like one of the lighter jobs, I guess you could say, is that I'm not client facing. So I don't work with our clients and I don't always get to feel that. And I've as you were talking about doing intake, I've been thinking about, I'm like, man, I really should probably try to do some shifts and do, because I know we have some on-call shifts and people that help with that. I'm like, I think that would be a really great experience for me, because I'm a little more removed, right? Like I am out in the community, making sure that everyone knows that YCC exists, and helping them to understand, like you said, when we think of domestic violence, or especially when I think of domestic violence before I was here, I think what we think of is like hitting and the bruises and I feel like we've done a really good job of like, that's not okay. And that's domestic violence and that's domestic abuse. And then you should leave, like all the things around like the hitting and the violence and the shoving and all of those things. But what I've really learned here more so is that it's that mental abuse, it's the financial abuse, it's all of that, because that help, like you said, it happens so slightly, right? Like it happens on this little journey where you're putting up with like little bits of things and all of a sudden you're in deep, right? Like, especially like if you have a family, you have children involved, or all of a sudden you don't work and you don't have access to the bank accounts anymore and you don't have anything that's your own anymore because it happened on this like gradual scale. Because I've known really, really powerful, strong women that I would have never in a million years thought would get sucked into something like that, because they are so independent and so strong. But they do, like we all do. Like that's the thing about domestic violence, is that there is no demographic, like most social services, we can have a clear, like, here is our average client, like, here is our client, here is who we serve. It's everyone, it's every ethnicity, it's every gender, it's every socioeconomic level, every profession, it's everyone, it's literally everyone. Which leads me to our event. So on Friday, we are having our Heart of Ogden Gala, which we haven't had in a couple of years because of COVID. Always heard, yay! Yay! And if you notice, the cute little tennis shoes on that invitation is we are doing, it's a little bit different than a typical gala where you like come in and you do the silent auction and you sit down and there's a presentation. So before we even get started, there's an activity. And we're encouraging everyone to wear their semi-formal attire. So wear your favorite party dress or your cute suit and wear tennis shoes. I have red sparkly ones. I'm pretty stoked about them, but because the activity we're going to do is called In Her Shoes. And it's called In Her Shoes because the manufacturer, that's the name of it. And then we're going to do on our tables. So as we were talking about, like it happens to everyone, on our tables, we have different pairs of shoes because abuse happens in any walk of life. And so, but the activity is called In Her Shoes because it's trademarked and we can't change it. But when you come in, those that want to participate are going to get a card with a survivor's name on it and a little backstory about that person and a choice at the bottom. So this has happened to you. This is what's going on. Do you go to the clergy? Do you go to your family? Or do you forgive and forget? Right? So like there's this whole journey where you get to be in their shoes. And so you get to learn about like, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal. I'll just go back home. Oh, well, you know, like, and you learn like, because for me, I know when I was younger, I'd be like, oh my gosh, why wouldn't they just leave? Like when you would hear stories on the news, like when I was young, like in my early 20s or teenage, like, oh, I would never, I'm too strong for that. Or I would never let anyone do that to me.
Yeah.
Oh man, when you go through this journey, you understand how quickly and slowly and subtly that can really happen to anyone. So we're really excited to have people feel that and kind of have that empathic view of it and that experience to draw on to show like this is an everyone problem. Like this is a cultural problem. Like how do we change this? So we'll kind of take them on a journey. So they'll come into the activity. We have a survivor speaking about her research and her journey. And then we have Nubia Pena, who works with the governor, and Dr. Susan Madsen, who's done lots of research on domestic violence and women's studies and women's issues and so much data to kind of bring us some hope and some light and how do we change this and what can we do. So we'll be on this whole journey tonight.
I love that.
We do
I love
have a few tickets. We are sold out, but we had one of our generous sponsors has donated their table back because they're not able to come.
Okay.
So a few select tickets if anyone wants to reach out to me.
So how can people reach out? Because I know you're also doing a silent auction, right? And people, if you can't come to the event, you can still do the silent auction,
which is
bid,
perfect,
right?
Yeah, you can bid on your items. Just come. You'll be the winner. You'll get to pay on your app, and then you can just pick them up here after the event at YCC. And also in that app is our paddle raises for services. So if if none of the silent auction items speak to you, there's a way to just support us monetarily and help us. We have a $25,000 match. One of our generous donors who we love, has agreed to match up to $25,000. So help us hit that goal because I want every penny of that $25,000
right
to be matched. So
how can people find you?
so we have a website, obviously, yccogden.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Our youth education outreach team has a TikTok because they're working with kiddos and that's where they live. So we're teaching them about healthy relationships and red flags, and this is what a healthy relationship looks like, and this is what one doesn't, so that they're quick to see those subtle changes. That's how we end this. It's one of the ways we end this is being able to recognize that. And especially like maybe sometimes the abuser doesn't really realize it until, in the beginning stages. I don't know, like everyone needs more awareness about this is okay behavior and this is not.
Right. Well, love is generational too. How someone's brought up, they think that's normal.
They think that's normal.
And so you continue on and you raise your kids, your family that way because it's normal.
That's what you learned. Yeah.
It doesn't, but I think in society, there's a lot of awareness. And I love the fact that you're going to the youth and helping them break the cycle of like awareness.
Like, oh, I didn't know that.
And being able to be like, okay, now how do we change? And giving them tools and choices, be the change you want to see in the world, right? Be the change you want to see in the world.
Be the change, yes.
And that's the thing, it's like they can. And society, I mean, the youth right now, it's hard out there. There's a lot of stuff going on just in normal day life. So with the families and things like that. There's a lot that's happening. But with the power of YCC and the impact of the mentors that are there, I think are very important for people. And that's something I wanted to ask you, Sara. Mentors, have you had any specific mentors in your life that stand out, and how important are they? Because listeners, no matter the age, whether you're young, old, whatever, having someone that you look up to or someone that you respect and think, you know what, it's not comparison, right? We're not comparing here, but how can I better myself?
Yeah.
Or what are those traits that I could improve on?
I have had, so I've not had like formal mentors, like where I'm like, you're my mentor, I'm your mentee, like a formal thing.
Right.
I've had so many incredible women in my life that I can call on for different things at different stages of life and for different parts of life. Like I had cheer coaches when I was young, like I was in competitive cheer starting from when I was 10, and that was my savior. Because they taught me different things, you know, like they taught me about like teamwork, and they taught me about like excuses, and which I got really mad about. I'm like, it's not an excuse, it's a reason. And they're like, no, but you have to overcome that, because it doesn't matter when we're working together as a team to achieve this goal. You have to overcome those things. So I learned a lot that way. Even all the way to like now, like I gush about her all the time, and I promise you I'm not going to use it to my advantage, but our executive director here is an incredible leader. Like she leads by example. Oh my gosh, it's just been really wonderful to learn from her, and she's happy to bring me on the journey, and like she'll bring me along to calls that I don't necessarily need to be there. She's obviously more than capable of being there, but she knows that for my growth, that it would be important for me to be at that table or to see that or experience it, or that way when it's, you know, someday my turn to be at that table as the leader, that I've had that experience. So I've been really grateful for her just being that example, you know, just showing like this is okay to be this way as a leader. Because I think sometimes we get in our heads like, oh, I have to be like that person. She's like blah, blah, blah. But if that's not who you are, it's so good to see different kinds of leaders and their styles, and that all are okay. And we can lean into those unique traits to be the best leader that we can be, so that it gives somebody else permission to be the type of leader that they are too.
Right.
So,
and that's where it's about being authentic and raw, and being who you are, and knowing your strengths, and knowing what you know, you're positive, you're outgoing, you're light, you can bring people together. You can go like, oh my gosh, you need to go meet this person. You're a connector. And your strengths are that in leadership roles and things like that. And I think being a leader is one of those things that we have the capability of doing if we choose to. And a lot of us would rather sit back in a room and let someone be the head chief and the rest of us Indians, where others are like, see, they have the passion and it grows. And the more you can, like, you know, when I get people excited about what I'm doing and things like, whether, because I always have these wild ideas and people know that, but it's like, I just get so excited. And it's like bringing people and jumping them on your train with you and going, you see this? You see the vision? Do you understand what we can do? And I think that's really important, especially in leadership skills. There's something else I want you to talk about. The month of February, like I was driving around, I saw these big old hearts all over that said "Love Ogden," YCC, and I love that, because that was something that we started when I was on the board the first couple of years. And so, tell the people about these hearts. If they're driving around Ogden and they see a big old heart, because we want them to be aware of what it is.
We do. Oh my gosh. So I love the Heart of Ogden. It was the very first thing I did when I got to YCC, and it was a really quick turnaround. So I was like, oh my gosh, here we go.
It was quick.
It was quick. And it was crazy, but it
happened.
It did.
It happened.
Yeah. And so in lieu of our gala, because we couldn't have our gala, which is our biggest fundraiser, I kind of came in the middle of the brainstorming, getting it ready to go. And I was like, ooh, this needs to be a fundraiser too, guys. So we added the QR codes and all of those fun things and hashtags and all that. But essentially they're giant conversation hearts that are placed around our community to start the conversation about domestic violence and sexual assault. But they're also to spread joy, because how happy, like, they're a lot of work for me. It's my work. It's stressful. It's a lot to like find 30 homes for these 30 hearts, and how are we getting them there, and how are we picking them up, and who's sponsoring them, and how are we paying for all this stuff. But it still brings joy to my heart. So if it's a stressor a little bit for me and they still bring joy to me, I can't even imagine like people just driving around and seeing these giant hearts that say love and peace and hope. And so, I mean, it was the first year we did it was right there at the very beginning of 2021. So we'd come through 2020 and we were just like, these are going to spread some joy, right? We can't have our gala. We can't gather 300 plus people in one room, but we can spread joy to our community and get the conversation started in a different way. And so I love them. And then last year we shifted a little bit even more to really try to highlight our small businesses that also struggled through the COVID pandemic and being shut down and less people coming out and just the stress of the day to day. And so we've been trying to really be strategic about highlighting different small businesses to make it a win-win. So if people come in and they're like, oh my gosh, what's with the heart? They can learn about YCC. They can learn about this business because we have a bingo card that you're encouraged to go visit all the hearts.
Which is fun.
Which is so fun. And then if you show that you've donated to YCC, then most of the businesses have like a little coupon to like for you to come and shop in their store or have a specialty item or a drink or something like that. Just to make it a win-win, right? Because I love our community and I want it to be a win-win where people are learning about us and what we do so they can pass that on to their friends and family, but then also like highlighting some really awesome businesses in our community because they're wonderful too. So
there's a lot of small businesses that stuck through it, made it through COVID and continue to thrive. And I think it's because of the unity that Ogden is building.
Yeah. I had someone described Ogden as, well, they said, well, we're not Ogden, we're not all kumbaya. And I'm like, yeah, we are. Like, because you moved to Ogden, you're in. If you're a new business, you're in the circle. If you're a new person, you just moved here, you're in the circle unless you earn your way out of the circle, right? Like you're automatically a part of this family in Ogden unless you
choose not to
be, right? You know, and so
very simple,
right? Because there's other communities where you have to like earn your way in and prove your worth and prove all these things, and we might let you in. And Ogden is the opposite, and that's why I love it because you're automatically in unless you choose to not participate, show up, and be a part of it. So
you're also speaking of that, being a part of something, you're also on the board with the Women in Business.
Yeah,
and I love that. Yes. So tell me, we've got just a couple minutes. Tell us a little bit about Women in Business, because I think this is amazing group of women, and they have grown in the last couple of years, and it's exciting to watch and see. And so share with the listeners a little bit about them.
I love it. So this is my 5th year being a part of Women in Business, and I'm the chair this year of the board, which blows me away because I was like, you were talking about the Athena luncheon. My first Athena luncheon was like 5.5 years ago, and I was like blown away with how many incredible women were there cheering on each other. Like I was like, this is Ogden, I'm in. I can do this. Like this is going to be okay. But it was so overwhelming to where I'm like, I'm not her, I'm not her, I'm not her, I'm not like that, right? Like that comparison that you talked about. And so to think that I am now leading this board, like when I was asked to be on the board, it really shocked me because I had only been here like less than a year. So it was pretty fast. But anyway, what I'm really excited about for Women in Business this year is that it's going to be more collaborative because I love that. And so instead of just coming in and sitting down and listen to a speaker, we're going to have lots of roundtables where we're learning and sharing and growing from each other. Because if you come into one of those luncheons through the chamber, it's packed full of incredible women doing insane things in our community. They're business owners, they're entrepreneurs, they're executive directors, they're VPs of development. I mean, these are power-packed women doing incredible things, and we're just letting them sit there and not learning from them. So we're flipping it up and changing it up this year to really learn from each other and utilize the talents and strengths we have within our group. And so it's going to be pretty powerful. So I'm excited. So if you're not a part of Women in Business, you can come to a luncheon.
Yeah, when's it? There's a luncheon coming up. When is it?
February 28th, and that one's really fun.
Yeah, that's going to be the first one, right?
Yeah. So
Or the
that
first
one is,
round table.
yeah, so it's
Speed dating.
Yeah, you get to meet and chat with like a bunch of different people for like 5 minutes at a time, and make some great connections to kick off the year. So
Yeah, I love that. It is amazing. So we're almost to ending, which I know this hour goes by fast.
oh, it's so fast. I'm
I
like,
know,
an
so
hour.
fast.
How am I going to fill an hour?
And look at you did without any problem whatsoever. So Sarah, I always invite my guests to share with the listeners an advice, a word of advice, something that might be a mantra for you to plant a seed in other people.
Yeah.
Do you have one that you could share today?
Oh man,
I know I put people on the spot all
I
the
know,
time.
that's okay.
I'm so
That's
good
okay.
at it.
You're good. I feel like be the change. Like I know that was the opening card, but man, have I lived by that in my life? Like if you don't like something, get involved and change it. Like that's why I joined, like I'm the chair for the school board that my kids go to because they were having issues. And I'm like, well, might as well make it better. Might as well get involved. So if you don't like something, change it. You know, if you don't like something in yourself, change it. If you don't like where you live, change it. You know, just embrace that. Like know yourself, know what you need. And if you're not getting what you need where you are, then change it.
Change it. I love that. Listeners, Sarah, thank you so much. And listeners, remember that affirmation, what Sarah just said, be the change. Don't complain, have a solution.
Yeah.
So find that solution and be the change you want to see in this world. And that was our affirmation, which just goes hand in hand with the theme for today. And remember that the breath is a gift of life, and you choose now to live. The world is not for sissies, as we all know, and we're here to experience our own story as we each walk our personal journey. Now is a time for the power of women to set fire and to shine brightly as we stand together as one, yet as our own unique, brilliant selves. And I leave that with you guys, my listeners, and I hope you understand, and Sarah, that this life is for you. You are the change, and to shine brightly no matter where you're at is the most important thing you can do for yourself and for others around us. Have an amazing week, and thank you all for being here, sending you love and light. And Sarah, thank you for spending the time with us today.
All right, perfect. Great job. All clear.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Oh,
How was that, Sarah?
That was good. Great. That was so fast. I'm like, I don't know how we're gonna do an hour, but okay. Gosh, that was
Well,
great.
you did amazing. I hope we were able to help the YCC, the gala, the upcoming events,
Yeah.
Women in Business, kind of highlight some of the things that you're involved in and the power behind it, because it's about promoting what you're doing. So I hope this is useful for you. And I just invite you to share it with your audience, with YCC, things like that, because I know Shannon will send you the link over. And it's, yeah, this is my gift to you guys. So I love you guys.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day. And then I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, bye.